Griff Hamlin here from Blues Guitar Unleashed. In today's video, I want to help you see sort of the forest for the trees when it comes to fast, slow blues licks. This is something that I see a lot of where it can go one of two ways. Either you see a lick and you're like, oh, that'd be really, really cool to learn, but then you see it on paper and you're like, there's no way I'm ever going to learn that. And you might think it's of no use to you, and that couldn't be further from the truth. And in reality, that lick, even though it might seem really, really fast, is actually, if you slow it down and you learn how to manipulate it using the count, using the timing, using the subdividing, it's very useful to you after all, as it turns out, and you can make something really, really nice with it and potentially get it to that point where you are using it in that really sort of fast Stevie Ray Vaughan, Johnny Winter, you know, the Eric Clapton flurry thing. It's kind of a blast of notes. It sounds really, really cool. And you might think that there's sort of some method to that madness, and you're right. But again, as most things do, it has to do with timing and subdividing beats. So let me show you what I'm talking about. If you were to look at a lick like this, the first thing that you might see is wow, there's all these notes on there. There's 16th note triplets. This is crazy. How on earth am I ever going to be able to play this? And if you are new to counting, you're new to timing, you don't know how to break this apart, absolutely, you're probably right. But what I'd like to kind of point out to you is the fact that this is basically groups of three, just like anytime we count 1 and 2 and 3 and right, we have groups of three, one beat of three, two beats of three, three beats of three. So anytime you have triplets like this, they can be broken apart into 8th note triplets instead of 16th note triplets like that. So now all of a sudden, this is a perfectly reasonable lick, and all I did was take the 16th note triplets and turn them into 8th note triplets. I just made it twice as much. It's actually 3 times as much, depending on how you want to look at it, but let's not get carried away with the technical stuff. All right, so if I take this particular lick, let's just take this really, really simple. Now I'm playing this in C. And this is the C minor blues scale. I stole this from Stevie Ray Vaughan's Fair and Square. I'm going to start with that bend, that classic bend that we do on the 3rd string on beat 2. So 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2. At the very end, I'm just going to slide up into the 2nd box. Okay, so again, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2. I have this tendency to hammer on that last 10 before I slide it up to the 12. I did not write it that way. Do it whichever feels comfortable to you. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and one more time. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2. Now, you might hear that and think, okay, that's kind of a nice lick. If I were to play this along with the jam track that I used, I'll say on the way into this, which is just a slow blues in C. This is 60 beats per minute. So if I were to play along with this, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. You can see it's a great lick. 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. So it works. It works just fine. I can play it as it is, no problem at all. But that's nice and slow. How do we get it to that? How do we get it to that, right? Where it sounds like it just kind of flows out of us effortlessly. This is going to require probably a metronome, okay? Because what's important is that we have to keep the time steady. Okay, the only way we can build speed is by being very cognizant of the tempo. Okay, now I got a lot of different terms going on. Tempo and subdivisions and all these different things. Tempo is how fast your metronome clicks. If I got a metronome, I got one here on my phone, the tempo right there is 60, right? Because every time that clicks, that is one count, one beat, okay? To me, count and beat are different. That is every beat, okay? Now, if I subdivide that into triplets, into pieces of 3, that's going to be 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. So I am subdividing those beats, and that becomes my count. That's what I'm saying, okay? So you can verbalize it however you want. 1 triplet, 2 triplet, 3 triplet, 4 triplet, tick, 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 tick. I really don't care what you say, and it's really not that important what you say in the grand scheme of things. Sometimes when I'm doing this, I say the wrong number. I say the wrong thing. It doesn't matter. Okay, so please don't get super hung up on that. So how do we, if we want to increase our speed, how do we handle that? Okay, well, it's first of all very, very important that you can do this, right? Here's at this speed, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and I played it on the wrong beat. Let's do it again. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4, okay? That has to be by memory. Obviously, I'm putting it up on the screen for you. To me, it's over there. I'm putting it up on the screen for you so that you can try this along with me. But do I expect you to be able to do this right here and now? Absolutely not. You're probably gonna have to rewind the video, go back and watch that part. You gotta get that memorized. If you don't have it memorized and you're not counting it out loud while you're playing it, this is probably not gonna work out. I don't mean to be the bearer of bad news, but it's not gonna work out, okay? If you have to look at the piece of paper, it's gonna take too long. Okay, so let's say you can do it at 60. Conventional wisdom would say, go to 63 or maybe 65. I'm gonna go to 80, okay? And I will encourage you to do the same, okay? This is something that I've just sort of learned over the years. Big jumps tend to work out better in the long run. So 1 and 2 and 3. First of all, you gotta be able to count it, right? 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1. If you can't count that, it's too fast. You gotta slow down. 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2, 3 and 4 and no problem, right? Obviously, it's not going to be a problem for me. If it's a problem for you, then back off. Okay, so notice that I went from 60 to 80. Okay, that's a big jump. It's a huge jump. You might get most of it right at 80 or even half of it right. I'd say stay there. Okay, this is not a conventional way of handling this sort of thing. But what I would suggest is that you do a few tries at 80, even though you might be making some mistakes, and then go back to 70. See if you can get it nice and clean there. If not, go back to 60. But do a few tries at all those different points in between. When you get to the point that more often than not, you're playing it at 80 and you're not making any mistakes, bump it up to 100. Okay, so let's bump it up to 100. 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 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 and 3 and 4 and I'm counting out loud. Everything is working out just fine. Now, if you get from just like before, if you get to 100, you're butchering it. It's terrible. Do some at 100, do it a few tries, just a handful. Try it at 90. If you're still butchering it, go back to 80. If you're still butchering it, go back to 70. But try. That's the biggest thing. Try. Most people just don't even try to play things faster. When you don't try to play things faster, you don't get faster. It never happens, okay? So you have to try. You have to at least try. It will get there. It might take some time, but it will get there. But you have to try those higher speeds. If you don't ever try, it doesn't ever get there. Okay, now, I'm gonna bump it up to now 120. Okay, A 1 and a 2 and a 3 and a 4 and a 1 and a 2 and a 3 and a 4 and a 1 and a 2 and a 3 and a 4 and a 1 and a 2 and a 3 and a 4. Now it's getting to the point where I'm going to have a hard time saying the notes. Okay, but in my mind, I got that tick 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 1. 1. Okay, I'm now at 140. Now I'm going to go up to 160. 1, 2, 1, 1, 4, 1, 2. Okay, again, I'm just doing exactly what's on the page, but now I'm at 180. 1, 1, 2, 1. Okay, so here's an interesting thing. At 180, played like this, I am playing exactly the same thing as this. There's no difference. Okay, so if I now put on, say, my jam track again, this is at 60, 2, 3, and 4, and 1, 2, 3, 1. Same thing, 1, 2, 3, 1. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Okay, but because my brain was able to hear triplet, 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 I was able to hear those triplets at that speed. I can slow down the tempo. Doesn't change anything. Okay, so I know this is probably a 30,000 foot view for a lot of people, but I'm also very, very certain that many of you who have tried to probably learn these slow blues licks like that, or you see the fast ones, you see the ones that got all kinds of notes and all this stuff, and you think, there's no way I'm ever going to be able to work with that. You can. You just have to slow it down first, okay? Whenever I see one of these licks like this, the first thing I do is I write it like this so that I can comprehend it. I literally write it on another sheet of paper so that I can learn it. If this doesn't make any sense, this will. Or you may not even have to write it on another sheet of paper. I'm still looking at 3 counts. The first beat is 1, 2, 3. The second beat is 2, 2, 3. The third beat is 3, 2, 3. The next beat is 4, 2, 3. The next beat is tick, 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 and then the last beat. So 1 tick, 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 tick. And all that happens is those ticks get faster as we play it, as we increase the tempo, those ticks get faster. So don't think that when you hear those crazy flurries of notes like that, it's probably easy to hear that and assume it's something random. It's not. Sometimes it is, admittedly. Sometimes it is. Sometimes people just play as fast as they can and just throw a bunch of notes out. But if you really even break those kinds of flurries apart, you'll see oftentimes that they're really just triplets inside of triplets, just like this is. Okay, so what I hope you can see is that you shouldn't be afraid of those kinds of licks. While they may be out of your reach today, they are not out of your reach forever. It's simply a matter of going through the process of taking them in, being able to count them, then being able to work with the tempo. Now you'll notice that I didn't bring in the metronome until it was totally memorized and totally playable at a comfortable count, okay? If you turn on a metronome too early, it's just going to be that thing that beeps over there. You're not going to play to it. If you don't play to the metronome, it's useless. Okay, so you have to have already the lick memorized, playing it while counting it, and then you count along with the metronome and you make your notes match. But if you don't count along with the metronome, there's no purpose in having the metronome on. Okay, so again, I know this might be a little bit, I'll say, higher level, but even for those of you maybe that are new to soloing or just getting started with soloing, these really fast licks, are available everywhere. This is one of the downsides of the internet, for lack of a better word, is you have access to all this stuff that you probably have no business trying to play. Okay, so hopefully what I can show you is that while you might see one of these licks and be like, wow, that's really, really cool, but it's super fast, it's way out of my reach. Yes, true. But here's how you get it within your reach, okay? You be able to count it, you bring up the tempo, you work with it. That process that I just did in 2 minutes might take you 2 or 3 months or 6 months or a year. Who knows, right? Depends on where you are now, depends on where you want to be. But that is the process. There's really no shortcutting that or circumventing it. So hopefully that makes sense. And more importantly, that fast lick is perfectly useful to you at that third or half speed tempo. It's still a great lick to play. Right? To play it at that tempo is perfectly usable. So when you see one of those fast licks, don't just ignore it. Don't just put it away, because the finger movements are important. You might need those. Go ahead and learn it. Just slow it down to a tempo that you can work with. Okay? As always, I'm Griff Hamlin from Blues Guitar Unleashed. Thanks for joining me. If you have guitar playing friends that you think might benefit from this video, I hope you'll share it with them, and I will see you soon. Take care. Bye-bye.